There's a specific sound that a $20 bill makes when it lands in a pile of cranberry sauce. It's a soft, wet thwack. That sound echoed across the mahogany dining table like a gunshot. "There you go, loser," my brother Brad said. He was leaning back in his chair, a glass of $200 Cabernet in one hand, a smirk plastered across his face. "Consider that a donation to the Dante Needs Gas Money Foundation. Don't say, I never gave you anything." The table erupted. My father, sitting at the head of the table like a king on a throne of debt, let out a deep, booming laugh. My mother, who was busy arranging the silverware that she polished once a year to impress the neighbors, covered her mouth with a napkin to hide her giggle. Even Brad's new fiancée, a girl named Jessica, who had met me exactly twice, looked at me with pure, unadulterated pity. I looked down at my plate. The bill was crisp, green, and now stained red at the corner. It sat there like an accusation. I didn't get angry. I didn't flip the table. I didn't scream that I was tired of being the family punching bag. I just reached out, picked up the bill, and wiped the cranberry sauce off with my thumb. "Thanks, Brad," I said softly, my voice humble, almost broken. "I really appreciate it. Things are tight this month." "Things are always tight for you, Dante," Brad sneered. "Maybe if you had used that degree instead of playing with grease in a garage, you wouldn't need handouts from your little brother." "You're right," I said. "I should have been smarter." I folded the $20 bill and placed it into the breast pocket of my flannel shirt. As I did, my fingers brushed against the clip of a pen. It looked like a cheap Bic pen, but it wasn't. It was a high-fidelity digital audio recorder, and it had been running for 45 minutes. I touched the pen, feeling the cold plastic against my skin. It was my anchor. It was the only thing keeping me from laughing in their faces. They thought this dinner was a charity event. They thought they were feeding the stray dog of the family. They thought I was sitting there, humiliated, soaking in their contempt because I had no other choice. They were wrong. I wasn't a guest. I was an investigator. And this wasn't Thanksgiving dinner. It was a deposition. I looked at Brad, then at my parents. I memorized their faces. I memorized the cruelty in their eyes. I needed to capture this moment in high definition. I needed to record the exact frequency of their disdain. Because tomorrow morning, when I vanished from the face of the earth, I wanted to make sure I never felt a single second of guilt. Let's back up. Let's look at the financials, because in my family, net worth is the only metric that matters. My name is Dante. To my family, I am a failure. I am the 30-year-old black sheep who threw away a business degree to become a mechanic. I drive a 2008 Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper. I wear work boots. I live in a studio apartment on the bad side of town. To them, I'm a cautionary tale. I am what happens when you don't have ambition. But there is a discrepancy in the books. A $40 million discrepancy. 3 months ago, on a Tuesday evening, I stopped at a gas station to buy a pack of gum. I bought a Powerball ticket on a whim. The next morning, I realized I held the only winning ticket for the jackpot. After taxes, the lump sum came to just over $40 million. I didn't scream. I didn't call my mom. I didn't buy a Ferrari. I went silent. I hired a team of lawyers from a firm in a different state. I set up a blind trust to claim the prize so my name would never appear in the papers. I moved the money into diversified offshore accounts. I have a passport in my pocket with a one-way ticket to the Amalfi Coast booked for tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock. I'm currently richer than everyone at this table combined. Multiplied by 10. Brad? He's an investment banker, which really means he sells bad financial products to old people. He makes good money, sure, but he spends it faster than he earns it. That Porsche in the driveway, leased. The Rolex on his wrist, bought on credit. He is leveraged to the hilt. My parents? They are house poor. They live in a McMansion they can't afford to heat, desperate to maintain the illusion of upper-class status. They view their children as assets. Brad is the high-yield bond. I'm a bad debt. I came here tonight with a plan, a final stress test. In the glove box of my Honda, hidden under a pile of oily rags, is a folder. Inside that folder are 3 cashier's checks. One for my mother, one for my father, one for Brad. Each check is written for $500,000. That money would change their lives. It would pay off their house. It would clear Brad's credit card debt. It would buy them the freedom they pretend to have. I wanted to give it to them. I really did. Despite everything, they're my blood. I wanted to believe that if I told them the truth, they would be happy for me. I wanted to believe that their cruelty was just tough love. So I devised a test. I decided to play the role of the desperate, broken man one last time. I decided to see how they treated me when I had absolutely nothing to offer them. If they showed me an ounce of kindness, just one drop of empathy, I would walk out to the car, get the checks, and change their lives. But if they kicked me while I was down, if they mocked my poverty while sitting on their high horses, then the checks would be shredded, and Dante the mechanic would disappear, replaced by Dante the multimillionaire, a ghost they would never see again. I pulled up to the house an hour ago. I parked my rusted Civic right next to Brad's gleaming white Porsche 911. The visual contrast was perfect. It set the stage. I walked to the front door, took a deep breath, and turned on the pen. The trial had begun, and the prosecution was ready to rest its case. Dinner was not a meal. It was a tribunal. In my family, conversation is a competitive sport. It's about positioning. It's about proving who is winning at life and who is losing. And tonight, I was the designated loser. We were halfway through the roasted turkey when Brad decided to launch his offensive. "So, Dante," he said, talking around a mouthful of stuffing, "are you still at that shop? The one on 4th Street? The garage?" I corrected him. "Yes, I'm still a mechanic, Brad." "Right, the garage," he chuckled, wiping his mouth. "I don't know how you do it, man. Waking up every day with grease under your fingernails. Dealing with people who drive, well, cars like yours. It must be exhausting." "It's honest work," I said, cutting a piece of meat. "I fix things that are broken." "It's minimum wage work," my mother chimed in. She didn't look at me. She was busy pouring more wine for Jessica. "We just worry about your future, Dante. You're 30 years old. You have a business degree from state. You could be managing a branch by now. Instead, you're changing oil." "I like cars, Mom," I said. "You like being poor," my father grumbled from the head of the table. "There's a difference. You lack ambition. You always have." I took a sip of water. The water was free. "Speaking of ambition," Brad interrupted, eager to pivot the spotlight back to himself. "Jessica and I finally booked the venue for the wedding. And for the honeymoon. St. Bart's. We got a villa on the water. $5,000 a night." He looked at me, his eyes gleaming with malice. "I'd invite you to come along, Dante, but I don't think they accept food stamps at the resort. And the flight? Private charter. No economy seats for you to squeeze into." Jessica giggled. "Brad, stop it. You're being mean." But she didn't stop him. She enjoyed the show. "I'm just saying," Brad shrugged. "It's a different world. Some of us work for it. Some of us don't." I felt the pen in my pocket. $5,000 a night. I could buy the entire resort if I wanted to. I could buy the airline he was chartering. But I just nodded. "Sounds nice, Brad," I said. "I hope you have a great time." My father cleared his throat. He wasn't interested in Brad's vacation. He was interested in extraction. "Since you're here, Dante," Dad said, pointing a fork at me, "the roof on the garage is leaking again. The shingles are rotting. I need you to come by this weekend and strip it. Re-shingle the whole thing." He didn't ask. He demanded. "I'm actually working this weekend, Dad," I lied. "I picked up extra shifts." "Cancel them," he snapped. "We let you stay on our health insurance until you were 26. We paid for your braces. The least you could do is fix the roof. Or can you not afford the gas to drive over here?" The table laughed again. That was the dynamic. I was useless to them unless I was useful. I was the servant who was expected to be grateful for the scraps. They didn't see a son. They saw cheap labor. I looked at the checks sitting in my mental outbox. $500,000. If I gave that check to my father, he would weep. He would hug me. He would tell me I was the best son in the world. But it wouldn't be real. He would love the money, not the man. I needed to be sure. I needed to push it to the absolute limit. I put my fork down. The metal clinked against the china. I let my shoulders slump. I stared at the tablecloth. I summoned every ounce of exhaustion and desperation I could muster. It wasn't hard. I just had to remember how I felt before the lottery ticket. "Actually," I said, my voice quiet, "I can't come fix the roof. And I can't pick up extra shifts because, well, business is slow. They cut my hours." The table went silent. They sensed blood in the water. "I didn't want to bring this up," I continued, looking up at them with pleading eyes. But I'm in trouble. Real trouble. I'm 2 months behind on rent. My landlord gave me a notice yesterday. If I don't come up with $2,000 by Monday, I'm being evicted. I'll be on the street. I looked at my mother, then my father, then Brad. I need a loan, I said. $2,000. I'll pay you back. I swear. I have nowhere else to go. The silence that followed was heavy. It was the silence of people calculating how to say no without looking like monsters. My father was the first to speak. He didn't look concerned. He looked annoyed. $2,000? He repeated. That is a lot of money, Dante. It's rent, Dad, I said. Please. We are not a bank, he said coldly. We have our own expenses. The heating bill alone this winter is going to be astronomical. And Brad's wedding is costing a fortune. But I'm your son, I said. I'm talking about being homeless. My mother sighed. She reached for her wine glass. Dante, honey, we told you this would happen. You chose this life. If we bail you out now, you'll never learn. Learn what? I asked. How to sleep in my car. Fiscal responsibility, she said, parroting a phrase she heard on TV. It wouldn't be fair to Brad if we gave you money. Brad works hard for his money. Why should he subsidize your laziness? I turned to Brad, my brother, the guy who just bragged about a $5,000 a night villa. Brad, I asked, you just tossed me a 20. You have the cash. It's just a loan. Brad laughed. A cruel, sharp bark. Bro, I'm liquidity constrained right now, he said, using buzzwords to hide his selfishness. All my cash is tied up in the market and the wedding. Besides, if I give you $2,000, you're just going to blow it. You need to hit rock bottom. It's the only way you'll wake up. So that's it, I asked, my voice trembling, not with fear, but with the adrenaline of the trap snapping shut. If I get evicted on Monday, if I have to sleep in shelter, you guys aren't going to help? It's tough love, my father declared, slicing his turkey. You'll thank us later. Yeah, Brad added. Sell your TV. Sell your tools. Figure it out. Don't come begging to us. I sat there for a moment. I listened to the recording device humming against my chest. It had caught every word. Liquidity constrained. Not a bank. Subsidize your laziness. They had failed the test. Spectacularly. They had chosen their money over my survival. They had chosen to hoard their wealth rather than save their son from homelessness. And in doing so, they had just cost themselves $1.5 million. A strange calm washed over me. The guilt vanished. The connection snapped. I looked at them, eating their expensive bird, drinking their expensive wine, completely indifferent to the fact that they had just condemned me to the streets. Okay, I said. I picked up my napkin and wiped my mouth. You're right, I said, a small, genuine smile forming on my lips. I need to be independent. I need to figure this out on my own. Thank you for the clarity. Good, my father grunted. Now, pass the gravy. I passed the gravy. And then, I prepare to pass judgment. I didn't stay for pumpkin pie. Usually, I would linger, hoping for a scrap of validation, maybe a good to see you from my mother. But tonight, I had what I came for. The audio file was saved. The verdict was in. I'm going to head out, I said, standing up. I have to figure out the rent situation. Don't expect a miracle, Brad called out, not even looking up from his phone. Miracles are for people who buy lottery tickets. The rest of us have to work. The irony was so sharp it almost cut my tongue, but I swallowed it. You're right, Brad, I said. No miracles, just reality. I walked to the door. My mother didn't get up to hug me. She just waved a hand dismissively. Drive safe, Dante, and fix that muffler. It's embarrassing the neighbors. I will, Mom. I walked out into the cold November air. The wind bit at my face, but it felt clean. Inside the house, the air was recycled poison. Outside, it was freedom. I got in my 2008 Honda Civic. I turned the key. It struggled, coughed, and finally sputtered to life. I looked at the white Porsche next to me one last time. Nice car, I whispered. Too bad you don't own it. I drove away. I didn't drive to my studio apartment. I didn't drive to the garage. I drove straight to the international airport. I pulled into the long-term parking garage, level 4. I found a spot in the corner. I turned off the engine. I took the title of the car out of the glove box. I signed the back. On the line for buyer, I wrote, Whoever finds his keys are on the dash. I grabbed my duffel bag, the only thing I was taking with me. It didn't contain clothes. It contained my laptop, my hard drives, and the voided checks I had brought tonight. I walked to the terminal, but I didn't go to the TSA line. I went to the private FBO terminal, the one reserved for the 0.1%. The staff was waiting for me. They didn't look at my flannel shirt and work boots with judgment. They looked at the manifest. Mr. Dante, the concierge said, taking my bag, "Your Gulfstream G650 is fueled and ready. We have the espresso you requested." "Thank you," I said. I walked onto the tarmac. The jet was sleek, silver, and beautiful. It cost $10,000 an hour to operate. I climbed the stairs. I sat in a leather seat that cost more than my father's car. As the plane taxied down the runway, I pulled the $20 bill out of my pocket, the one Brad had tossed at me. I looked at it. Gas money. I chuckled. The engines roared. The plane lifted off, banking sharp over the city lights. Somewhere down there, my family was sleeping off their wine, confident in their superiority, completely unaware that the loser they had mocked was currently ascending to 40,000 feet, leaving them behind in every sense of the word. The package arrived at my parents' house at exactly noon on Black Friday. I wasn't there to see it, obviously. I was somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, sipping a mimosa, but I can picture the scene perfectly. I know my family. They would be hungover. Brad would be on the couch, nursing a headache. Mom would be looking for leftovers. Dad would be complaining about the football game. The doorbell rang. A courier delivered a heavy, black box. No return address. Just a label for the family. They probably thought it was a gift. Maybe they thought I had pawned my tools to buy them something to apologize for ruining dinner with my poverty talk. They opened the box. Inside, there was a single USB drive and a laminated letter. Brad, being the tech guy, would have plugged the USB into the massive flat-screen TV in the living room. "What is this?" he'd ask. "A suicide note?" He'd press play. The screen flickered to life. It wasn't a grainy webcam video. It was a professionally produced recording I had made 3 days ago in my lawyer's office. I was wearing a bespoke Italian suit. I was wearing a Patek Philippe watch. I looked like the man I actually was, not the man they wanted me to be. "Hello, family," the video Dante said. "If you're watching this, I'm already gone." On the screen, the image cut to a screen recording of my Bank of America private client portal. I logged in. The password was typed in. The balance appeared in high-definition 4K resolution. Available balance, $40,250,432.19. I imagine the silence in that living room was absolute. I imagine Brad's jaw hitting the floor. I imagine my father squinting, thinking it was a prank. Yes, the video continued. "I won the Powerball 3 months ago. I didn't tell you because I wanted to surprise you. I had a plan." On the screen, the camera zoomed in on 3 cashier's checks lying on the desk. "Pay to the order of Brad Miller. Amount, $500,000. Pay to the order of Robert Miller. Amount, $500,000. Pay to the order of Susan Miller. Amount, $500,000. I was going to give you these tonight," the video said. "I wanted to pay off the house. I wanted to pay off Brad's Porsche. I wanted to give you everything." My face on the screen hardened. But first, I needed to know something. I needed to know if you loved me, or if you just tolerated me. So I asked for help. I asked for a loan. I told you I was going to be homeless. Then, the audio from the dinner started playing. The waveforms danced on the screen. Dad's voice, "We are not a bank, Dante." Mom's voice, "It wouldn't be fair to Brad if we helped you." Brad's voice, "Sell your tools. Don't come begging to us." The recording played on a loop. Their own cruelty amplified, echoing in their living room. "You told me to be independent," video Dante said. "You told me to figure it out. So I did. The money is in an irrevocable trust now. You cannot touch it. You cannot sue for it. It is gone. And so am I." The video cut back to me holding the $20 bill. "Brad, thanks for the gas money. It got me to the airport. Enjoy Street Barts. I hear the economy seats aren't too bad if you stretch." The screen went black. Block 7. My phone started blowing up when I landed in Rome. I turned it on just to see the notifications. "Mom, 14 missed calls. Dad, 8 missed calls. Brad, 22 missed calls. Brad, text Dante. Oh my God, is this real? Pick up. We were just joking. It was tough love. Call me. Mom, text baby, please don't do this. We love you. We were just scared for you. Come home. We could talk about this. Dad, voicemail Dante, son. Listen, let's not be rash. We're family. Money does strange things to people. You need guidance. I can help you manage it. Call me immediately. Guidance, I laughed. He wanted to manage the portfolio. He wanted the commission. I didn't reply. I didn't text back. I walked to a trash can in the arrivals terminal. I popped the SIM card out of my phone. I snapped it in half. I dropped the phone into the bin. I walked out to the curb where a driver was waiting. He held a sign that said, Senior Dante. Welcome to Italy, sir, he said, opening the door of a black Mercedes. Where to? The coast, I said, and take the scenic route. I'm in no rush. I leaned back in the seat. They say you can't choose your family. That's true, but you can choose when to fire them. My family wanted me to learn the value of a dollar. They wanted me to understand that nothing in life is free. Well, they taught me. They taught me that their love had a price tag, and unfortunately for them, they couldn't afford me anymore. I checked my pocket. The $20 bill was still there. I handed it to the driver. Here, I said, for the gas. He smiled. Grazie, signore. This is Dante. Signing off. Remember, when people show you who they are when you have nothing, believe them. Because when you have everything, they'll just pretend they never saw it.